Happy holidays! Welcome to the third class in our charity self-care series. And this week we're going to focus on digestion. So we're going to do a short yoga sequence for helping our digestion work, maybe during Christmas, maybe during New Year, and this is something you might even do between meals. So a short, gentle sequence for our digestion. Let's get started. Before we start our class, if you haven't already, please make a donation to the important Thankmas charity campaign. You'll find a link and more details about the charity campaign in the description box below. And then into our practice. For this week's practice, you need some props. So it could be pillows, it could be cushions. I have 2 pillows here, or you might use blocks, something that you can use for supported back bends. And we're going to start with supported bridge. So find your props. I'm going to have a pillow, a cushion, and come lie down on your back so that you bring your prop under the pelvis. So it could be something quite small, like I have just 1 cushion, or you might have a bigger bolster. You might use 2 cushions. You might have a block or even 2 blocks under the pelvis. But make sure you have something that elevates the pelvis slightly off the floor, off the mat. And actually, I might even take my 2nd cushion here. I feel like the pelvis needs to be a bit higher up so that we get just a gentle opening around that belly, hip area, kind of the front side, to create a bit more space for the breath in the belly area, to create a bit of that opening in the front where we might feel all that food we have eaten. And some people find that this supported bridge is quite releasing for the pelvic floor area as well. That pelvic floor that carries a lot of weight when we're sitting, when we're standing up. In this supported bridge, we're kind of reversing that load when we are elevating the pelvis a bit higher up. And we're not pressing onto the pelvic floor, but we let the organs kind of fall more towards the chest, taking some load off the pelvic floor. And especially if our digestive area feels very heavy, then it might feel quite heavy in that pelvic area as well. So this might make us feel momentarily a bit lighter around that belly pelvic area. Now, if you have found your shape in that supported bridge, you could keep hands in that belly area if that helps you to maybe focus on your breaths. Or you might release the hands, the arms down, maybe next to your sides, or you might even slide them higher up, next to the head, above the shoulders. But keep them resting onto something, so you don't need to tense your shoulders. I will just spend another minute or so here. Start to focus on the breath a bit more. Let the breaths deepen, let the breath slow down. And see if you could send a few breaths all the way down towards the belly. A bit like having a balloon down in the belly area. Could we inhale, make that balloon a bit bigger? Let the belly bulge out. Then as you breathe out, let the belly sink back in, like letting air out of that balloon. Allowing yourself to feel some space or create some space in that belly area. Let's take another breath in and out. And then if you have arms higher up, maybe you have hands on the belly, let the arms come down next to the sides on the floor. And then we're going to lift the pelvis off our props. Just pull or push those props aside and bring your pelvis down on the mat. And a few times swing the knees, swing the legs from side to side. Allow a bit of movement in the hips. And then roll either onto left or right side and bring yourself slowly up onto all fours. If you still have props there that you need to clear, you can push them aside and bring yourself onto all fours. Now we're going to continue with a bit more movement. We're going to go into the disco cat movement. So on all fours, start to circle your chest, start to circle your pelvis. So let your rib cage, your chest move from side to side and down and up. Allowing the spine to move. You might also visualize you're creating circles with your tailbone. But really just trying to circle through the ribs, through the shoulders, through the hips. Allowing gentle movement and allowing the belly area to keep on moving. Let's change the direction. Let's do our disco cats the other way and see if you could move your neck, your head as well. Just kind of letting the neck follow those movements. And we're breathing. We keep breathing. Those slow, a bit deeper breaths. Let's do another 1 or 2 rounds. Really let that digestive area move. Gentle squeezing in and releasing. And then let's calm down. Let's stop that movement. Find ourselves somewhere in the center, what feels like center to you now. And we're going to go into a twist. We're going to do thread the needle, and you have an option, either stay on all fours, or you might now extend your right leg out to the side, so that your right leg grows out to the side from the right hip. Find a place where it feels okay in the inner thigh. And leave your right hand on the mat. Now, as you inhale, reach your left elbow up towards the ceiling. So you're twisting, turning chest to the left. And then exhale, slide that left arm under the right armpit. Lean the left shoulder, lean head down on the mat. And you might adjust where that right hand is. Creating a twist. If you have that right leg out on the side, but when you come into the twist, it starts to feel uncomfortable, then feel free to bring the right knee back down onto the mat. Here again, we are in a gentle inversion. The pelvis, the belly is higher up than the head. Turning things upside down, trying to help the digestion. Of course, if your belly is really, really full, if this feels uncomfortable, then feel free to come out. Let's take another breath in and out in this twist. And then press down through that right hand and bring yourself back onto all fours. Bring both knees back down. Rock a couple of times from side to side. And then we'll do the same to the other side. So now we're going to extend the left leg out to the side if you want, or keep both knees on the mat. And then left hand stays down. And as you inhale, reach the right elbow up. So now we're twisting out to the right. And then as you exhale, slide that right arm on the mat. Lean the right shoulder, lean the head down. Feel free to adjust where the left hand is. So you get a bit of support from the left arm, but we're not tensing the shoulders too much. Not tensing the arms too much. And again, see how that left leg feels. If you prefer, you can always bring the left knee down on the mat. And breathe. See how it would feel here to breathe down towards the belly, or actually now breathing up to the belly area, because we are a bit upside down. Take another breath in and out. And then slowly, you can press down through the left hand. Bring yourself back onto both hands. Bring both knees down. And then we're going to go into child's pose. And here you might use props again. So we're going to lean pelvis down towards the feet. And if you want, you can bring some pillows, a bolster under the belly area. So the idea here with the props is to create a bit of pressure in that belly area. So I'm bringing now 2 pillows under the belly and then leaning forward. See if you could lean your head onto something. You might still adjust the prop so that you have some support under the head as well. It might be your own hands, it might be some fists under the head. And then let yourself sink into the pose. You might turn head to one side if you want. You might open the legs wider apart if needed. And make this a comfortable pose. When we are working with our digestion, the intention is also to relax. Release some stress. Because if we feel stressed, that will affect our digestion as well. The digestion will all kind of almost shut down if we're feeling very, very stressed. Or at least it might slow down. So let yourself find a bit of release. Find some relaxation. And keep on breathing. Focus on those calm, slow breaths. Again, let's try a few belly breaths here. Especially if you have some pillows under the belly, if you have some props under the belly. How would it feel to breathe towards those props, creating even more pressure with the breath in that belly area? So almost using the breath as an internal massage. Creating gentle pressure and release. Trying to stimulate that digestive area. Let's take another breath or two in and out. And then slowly, with the next few breaths, you can start to come out of the child's pose. Bring yourself onto hands and knees. So if you have props there you need to move aside, you can put them aside. And then we're going to come lie down on the back. So bring yourself onto your back. Make sure you can reach for some props when you are now lying down, just in case you want to use them. Have a bit of room on each side. And then we're going to come into a Panasana pose. So we're going to bring knees towards the belly, towards the chest, a bit like you just did in that child's pose. And you could have now hands maybe resting on the knees. And then we're going to exhale, bring the knees towards the belly. Inhale, send the knees out. And exhale, bring the knees towards the belly. Inhale, send the knees back out. And a couple more times. Exhale, knees come towards the belly. Again, creating that stimulation, that gentle massage in that digestive area. Once more. Exhale, bring the knees in. And inhale out. Then leave your knees bent, and with the next exhalation, gently bring both knees to the left side of the mat. Open the chest up towards the ceiling. Find a twist, a reclining twist, or as some people call this, the belly twist. Creating twist in that belly area. And breathe here a few times in and out. Let the shoulders soften. Head could turn to one side or the other. One more breath here. And then with the next breath, slowly bring the legs back up to the center. Inhale. And as you exhale, bring your legs to the right side of the mat. Again, allowing that belly area to twist. You could open the left arm away from the knees. Can we find space here for the breaths around the ribs and still in the belly area? So that belly, that digestive area is really our focus in all of the poses today. And that relaxation. So try to soften the belly rather than tensing the belly. Try to soften. Try to soften all the way down in that pelvic floor area. Let's take another breath in and out. And then slowly, slowly with the next breath again, bring legs back up to the center. And then we're going to do circling movement here. So start to circle the knees towards the belly and away from the belly. So like we did before, but now adding a bit of circular motion. Massaging the belly area, but also kind of massaging the lower back against the mat, against the floor. Keep breathing in and out. Let's change the direction. Let's go a few times the other way around. You can decide your breath pattern here. Let's do one more circle. And let's calm that movement down. Hug the knees in. And then release the legs back down. And now for the last pose, you're going to have an option. Either Shavasana pose, so just finding your resting pose on the mat. Or if you want, you could now bring a pillow, a bolster, something behind the back and come into another reclining back bend. And that could be any kind of support that you like, just to create a bit more opening in that belly area. You could have your legs bent, you could extend the legs. But find your final pose. Where would you like to end your practice in? Try to choose a pose that feels the most relaxed for you today. Again, you could bring hands onto the belly. You might bring hands, arms down next to the sides. You might even slide them higher up. Where do you feel your body could soften? Where do you feel you could leave your belly soft? Leave space for the breaths. Maybe even close your eyes for a moment. Couple of times, exhale through the mouth like a sigh. Notice where there's tension you could let go of. And just take a moment to notice how you feel. Maybe send a bit of attention, awareness down to your belly area. Notice if there are knots, tight areas that you could still soften. If you feel that you'd rather move here before we end the practice, feel free to move. You could do a few windshield wipers. You could hug the knees back in. Do a few more of those Apanasana, hugging the knees in movements. If you feel that's helping your digestion more today. Let's take a few more breaths in resting or in movement. Slowly starting to close the practice. If you feel ready to do so, if you want to stay in your pose or add more movements to your practice today, then feel free to do that. As always, this is your practice. Respect your body and how you feel today. If after those few breaths you feel that you'd be ready to start closing the practice, if you're lying down, just slowly roll onto one side. Find an easy way up into a seat. And let's take a few breaths to close this practice together. If you want, you can bring palms together in front of the chest. And as always, when you end your practice, most importantly, thank yourself for allowing some time for yourself, for looking after yourself today. And I thank you very, very much for joining in, for sharing this holiday practice. Thank you. Namaste. Okay, thank you very much for joining in, for sharing this practice. And if you haven't already, please check the charity campaign in the description box below. There's the donation link as well. We still have a few days to gather some more important donations for the World Central Kitchen. And I wish you very happy Merry Christmas, and I'll see you on the next video. We still have one more self-care video next week. Thank you, bye.